If this officer had been investigated properly the first time, this would have never happened. Where is the accountability? Hey, what's up, guys? Long Island Audit here, back again with another video. Thank you all for joining me live. First and foremost, before we get into the story, I would like to bring up the We the People protest that is happening this Saturday, October 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at the Nassau County Legislative and Executive Building. The address and details are in the description below. We are going to protest the man in front of you, Police Commissioner Patrick Psycho Ryder. Asset forfeiture funds. He won't release the documents, sent people to my home, done all types of corrupt activities, and we need to hold him accountable. He needs to resign or be fired, possibly held accountable for any illegal activity he's involved in. So just please, if you can make it out, if you're close and you can make it, I appreciate it. So now let's get into the story here. And this incredible story, ladies and gentlemen.
The arrest of the NYPD cop is kind of shocking because she was already being investigated for misconduct allegations. She was on desk duty. We will look at the officer's case and also the bust at that pizza parlor. This is NYPD police officer Grace Rosa Baez, who resigned on Friday after 12 years on the force when she was accused of making drug deals with her Yonkers boyfriend. It's the second significant bust in the Bronx area, with the Mozzarella Pizzeria shut down on Soundview Avenue Thursday, charged with being a wholesale distributor of cocaine, crack, fentanyl, heroin, and oxycodone.
In a pizzeria, of all places, in a pizzeria in the Bronx, in our city, where people are going in on a regular basis to order food.
Mozzarella Pizzeria is located across the street from an elementary school, PS 69. Police said crack cocaine was sold from the counter, while other drugs were processed in the basement.
It's really sad that our kids have to be around that kind of stuff nowadays.
This grandmother remembered the recent daycare bust after a toddler fatally overdosed and 3 others were revived with Narcan.
You know, I'm grandma. I have 2 sons, grandkids sons.
The pizzeria bust happened on the same day that a female NYPD officer was getting arrested in Yonkers for allegedly making fentanyl and heroin deals. Her alleged client was a paid confidential source with the FBI. The U.S. Attorney for the Southern District charged Officer Baez gave the FBI source samples of fentanyl in a Mentos candy container on Monday, October 16th. She and her boyfriend allegedly wanted $30,000 for a kilo of fentanyl during the initial meeting. The Bronx remains a focal point in city, state, and federal efforts to flush out traffickers ever since agents found trap doors storing drugs under the floor where children in daycare slept.
So Mary, this is a full court press to really find out who in this city is causing the most harm, what organizations are trafficking the most drugs.
The DEA points out cocaine deaths involving opioids like fentanyl account for nearly 85% of fatal cocaine overdoses in the Northeast.
These people that think they're buying cocaine are actually buying cocaine laced with fentanyl. Everything is being laced.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you saw it there. NYPD officer boyfriend arrested on federal drug charges. So if we scroll down here, this is an article from The Gothamist by Catalina Gonella. An NYPD officer and her live-in boyfriend were arrested Thursday for allegedly distributing fentanyl and heroin in New York City, federal prosecutors said on Friday. Why this is so important, ladies and gentlemen, is that, as you'll see in the rest of this article, she was never held accountable for her misconduct, and that's the problem with law enforcement. You know, a lot of people talk about that training is a problem. There is a multi-million-dollar budget across the country in police departments for training. They receive a lot of training, trust me. But the accountability, in which we all know, right? But we need to get the mainstream people, the back the blue people, to really understand this, is that there's no accountability in law enforcement, which is very ironic because law enforcement's job is to hold people accountable for breaking the law and to uphold the United States Constitution and our constitutional rights. And they're not held to any, even to the same level as us, let alone I believe they should be held to a higher standard because we have granted them authority enforce these laws. And that's the problem. No accountability in law enforcement, ladies and gentlemen. Zero accountability, zero oversight. They can do whatever they want. When we get in trouble, it's set to be a deterrent for not only ourselves to commit the crime again, but for society as a whole. But when law enforcement officers see that they can get away with anything, that's the problem. And then Officer Grace Rose Baez and her boyfriend Cesar Martinez were charged in Manhattan federal court Friday with 1 count of conspiracy to distribute narcotics and 3 counts of distributing narcotics, according to the office of Damian Williams, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. The defendants face at least 10 years in prison to life in prison under federal drug statutes, depending on which charge they are convicted of, if any. In a prepared statement, Williams alleged that Baez flagrantly violated her oath to protect and serve the people of New York City by pushing poison, including fentanyl and heroin, which are driving the nation's deadly opioid crisis and have been responsible for thousands of tragic deaths in the city and around the nation. The charges resulted from an investigation carried out this month by law enforcement officials working with unnamed confidential source. According to the complaint, Baez and Martinez offered to sell the source kilogram quantities of fentanyl, heroin, cocaine, and multiple occasions between October 9th and October 19th. In one instance, Baez told the source that she could sell them 2 kilograms of top quality fentanyl for $30,000 and 400 grams of heroin at a price to be negotiated later, the complaint said. 5 days later, the source met Baez and Martinez at their shared apartment in Yonkers, where Baez allegedly handed the source a Mentos gum container with a fentanyl sample in a baggie inside. On October 19th, Baez met with the source in Yonkers and handed them packages containing what appeared to be more than 1 kilogram of heroin and at least 640 grams of fentanyl, federal prosecutors allege. Until her arrest Thursday, Baez had been employed with the NYPD since 2012. So over 10 years, ladies and gentlemen, this woman, this disgrace of a human being, was employed by the NYPD. Over 10 years, said the complaint, but was recently on desk duty, following accusations of misconduct that surfaced around 2020. So I'm still investigating what this accusation of misconduct was, but let's do the math here. She's arrested for pushing poison on the streets, fentanyl, heroin, cocaine, in 2023, and there was accusations of misconduct that first surfaced in 2020. So that's 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago now. So where was the investigation? Why wasn't she fully investigated and held accountable for her actions? She was allowed from 2020 to 2023 to not only keep doing her illegal activity, but also to keep wearing a badge and having the authority of a law enforcement officer. It's absolutely disgusting what's happening. Absolutely disgusting. And this is not just in the NYPD, ladies and gentlemen. This is in Nassau County, which I've explained and I've showed evidence of. This is in Berwyn, Illinois. This is in Danbury, Connecticut. It's all over it in our law enforcement agencies. And we, the people, need to come together and do something about it. We need to come together and show our politicians and show these law enforcement agencies that we will hold them accountable. We are watching them. These charges are extremely troubling because there is no place for corruption within the NYPD, the police commissioner Edward Cabin said in a prepared statement. There is no place, this is the police commissioner of the NYPD, there is no place for corruption within the NYPD. Well, sir, I would just say that I have seen several instances of serious corruption and tyranny inside the NYPD. I am actually in federal court suing the NYPD right now for their unlawful trespass policy regarding recording inside of the precinct. So, this is just lip service, right, from the police commissioner here. If found guilty on these allegations, this officer will have tarnished the shield that she wore, as well as her sacred oath to the New Yorkers. I can agree with that. Baez appeared before Judge James Scott on Friday and was released on a $100,000 bond, and bail conditions were included home detention, electronic monitoring, according to SDNY spokesperson Nicholas Baez. Absolutely disgusting behavior here by this woman. Absolutely disgusting. She's an NYPD officer, law enforcement officers across the country, and the big theme of this is that there's no accountability in law enforcement, ladies and gentlemen, and they need to be held accountable, just like anybody needs to be held accountable, but law enforcement especially, because it's not only going to deter the individual, it will deter law enforcement across this country when they start waking up and saying, hey, if I violate this man's rights, I don't have qualified immunity. I'm not going to get away with this. I'm going to be held accountable. I'm going to be fired. I'm not going to be allowed to resign. I'm going to be terminated, lose my 401k, be sued in a federal civil rights lawsuit, and possibly go to prison. So that's what needs to happen here, serious accountability, and that goes by attacking these unions, because that's what's really stopping any sort of accountability and transparency. Speaking of accountability and transparency, the We the People protest is this Saturday at 1 p.m., October 28th, at the Nassau County Legislator and Executive Building, in the Courtyard. So I want to show you an example of what law enforcement officers do, how they come together when faced with crimes. Look at this. This is from Nassau County, New York, ladies and gentlemen.
A Nassau County police officer is on the other side of the law tonight. A grand jury indicted him on charges after a traffic stop got violent. But the officer says this video does not tell the whole story. CBS 2's Jennifer McLogan reports on this courtroom drama.
Vindicate Vinny. The courthouse seemed to shake with thunderous applause. Hundreds of police officers wearing Support Nassau Cops t-shirts flooded the third floor as the alleged victim passed through the main.
Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. This is a courthouse in Nassau County. Do you see? Hundreds of law enforcement officers went to intimidate the victim. Imagine if I called for a protest inside of a courthouse. But look what law enforcement officers do under the leadership of Patrick Psycho Ryder in Nassau County. Intimidate the witness. I got 8 order protection, stay away orders against law enforcement to protect them from me and my camera. And look, they're flooding. Look at the amount of support that they have.
Some of his family members held hands. Moments later, police officer Vincent Lojudice was indicted on felony assault charges, pleaded not guilty, released without bail, and greeted with an avalanche of support.
To judge this case by the video would be like judging a book by its cover, because that video does not show what was going on inside that car. Every action taken by this police officer and his partner was reasonable and necessary under the circumstances.
Lojudice is accused of kicking and punching Kyle Howell of Westbury during an April traffic stop, allegedly using fists, feet, and flashlight to pummel the 20-year-old motorist. The police union says Howell refused to comply with police orders, appeared reaching for a weapon or trying to swallow a bag of marijuana, saying the force was justified.
Vinny will be vindicated and justice.
Look at them. Look at them, ladies and gentlemen. Look at them with their signs. We stand for Vinny, justice for Vinny, vindicate Vinny. Look at all these signs, and look at all these people from the union, from the Police Benevolent Association, Look at all these people coming to support this man when the video just clearly showed this man used excessive force. All the charges were dropped against this individual, and this officer was indicted on felony charges of assault, police brutality. That's for a reason. The same way the police commissioner of Nassau County, and I'll be dropping a video, I'll be uploading a video this Thursday morning going more detail where I asked the officers of Nassau County, how do they feel that their police commissioner Patrick Psycho Ryder, has been arrested for police brutality, perjury, official misconduct. Absolutely disgusting. And then an attorney heard the police commissioner, when he was an officer, say that he was going to, quote, take care of another lawyer because he didn't agree with him. Take care of him. That's what a third-party attorney said to a judge. Do you understand? I know that I'm probably preaching to the choir at this point, but do you understand what it takes for a law enforcement officer to be arrested in the first place? We all understand this, right? You know, after watching hundreds of my videos and thousands of videos out on the internet where you see police officers and law enforcement officers commit the most abhorrent crimes, like Sergeant Brian Fahey, where he broke my camera, assaulted me on camera, and found no wrongdoing by internal affairs, let alone charges. So this is what happens, ladies and gentlemen. So imagine, I want you to just really think, really use your critical thinking skills. Yes, Police Commissioner Patrick Psycho Ryder wasn't convicted of official misconduct, police brutality, and perjury, but he was charged with it. And he was charged with it beating a man while handcuffed. He was charged with it in 1990. So let me explain that. 1990, when there was no cameras around, this man was charged with heinous crimes of police brutality, official misconduct, and perjury. So imagine amount of evidence they had against him. I'm still doing more investigating. He was actually arrested after that again. So twice this man was arrested for assaulting the public, we the people, and now he is the leader of one of the strongest and well-funded police departments in the country. Absolutely disgusting. And I wanted to show you this video because look at the support that they get. We the people need to come together.
Will be
and support
served.
each other.
That's the bottom line. What you see in the video, there's a lot more going on in there.
After seeing the video, prosecutors launched a probe. All charges against Howell for resisting arrest, assault, and criminal possession of a controlled substance were dropped.
I feel like justice is on its way, honestly.
According to the indictment, Howell suffered a broken nose, fractures near both eyes, and facial nerve damage from the beating.
I have to tell you that the other officers coming out and right away supporting, clapping, intimidating.
Howell's attorney called the show of police support reprehensible.
It just shows that all these people here were supporting police brutality.
Howell plans to sue for false arrest, excessive police force, and denial of his civil rights. Officer Judice faces a maximum of 7 years in prison. He has been suspended from the force without pay. His partner has not been charged. From criminal court in Mineola, Jennifer McLogan, CBS 2 News.
The judge ordered the officer to stay away from Kyle Howell to watch the surveillance.
So at least the judge in this case put a stay away order against the victim, just like a judge in Nassau County put 8 stay away orders of protection against me to protect law enforcement officers and public servants. It's absolutely disgusting. Like I said, we're going to be holding a We the People peaceful protest. I'm making signs right now. I don't have the budget of the police benevolent association and the unions, but I'm going to do my best. We the people, you guys have helped me, supported me from the very beginning, and I always say I cannot do this without each and every one of you and your support. So I appreciate that. So I will do everything in my power to make sure that we affect change. It's not enough that we're calling, and I appreciate that we're calling Nassau County Executive's office. We're trying to get some accountability here, and I understand most of you don't even live in this area. So I appreciate your support and for your emails and everything that you guys have done to up until this point. But there's come a time where we have to come together in person to make sure that this local media, they don't want to cover this story. A police commissioner who's been arrested multiple times for official misconduct, police brutality, perjury, won't turn over the asset forfeiture documents because there's obviously if he doesn't want to turn over the documents, there's something he has to hide. Won't turn over body camera footage. Detectives are strip searching African-American men in the street. These are all proven incidents of systemic racism inside of the Nassau County Police Department. That's what's going on here. It's one time after another, and I'm not one here to play the to try and erase bait anybody. But when it's over and over and over and over again in Nassau County Police Department, again, that becomes a problem, and it keeps happening over and over and over again to every color. Nassau County Police Department is full of tyrants and corrupt law enforcement officers, and I will say there are some good ones because they are trying to come and they're just scared. They're scared to come forward publicly, but behind the scenes, I'm talking to them, and I'm one step ahead of Patrick Psycho Ryder at all times. He needs to go. He needs to resign. He needs to just get out. He's a corrupt government official, and I don't know how he's been there for so long, but I'm guessing it has to do with the asset forfeiture fund, and I feel like a lot of people are going to wind up being exposed when I start looking into this asset forfeiture fund and I get my hands on the documents. He can't hide them forever. We'll get a judge to tell him to give them over. We're not even close to being finished with this investigation into Patrick Psycho Ryder and the Nassau County Police Department. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all for your continued support. I will be live streaming the We the People protest on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you're there and check it out. Make sure you're hitting the like button and you're sharing the live so as many people as possible can see it. Hopefully, the goal of this protest is our government officials are already aware. The Nassau County Executive, the police department, they're already aware of what's going on. Even the local media, they're choosing to ignore it. So we're bringing our fight to the people. So now the people of Nassau County need to see what's going on there, and they need to start asking questions about their government because it's absolutely disgusting what's going on here. Decades of police corruption, decades of police tyranny against we the people, and it's going to stop here. We're going to do everything in our power that we can to make it stop. But let me know what you think about this one in the comment section below. The We the People protest details are in the description of this video right below the like button. As always, stay safe. God bless. I'll see you in the next video. Long Island Audit. Peace.